Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Jai Hind, Namaskar, and I welcome you all to this session of daily newspaper editorial analysis. So, good morning. I am quite good, and I hope that all of you are also doing well. I hope all of you are also doing well and your preparation is going on fine. Good morning. Okay, so let's start with our session. Last day, I have given you this one question also to write. I have given you this one question which was with respect to the Iran war. So we will discuss this one topic at the end of the session. But prior to that, we are going to discuss two different articles. We are going to discuss two different editorials. One is with respect to the bilateral investment treaty. One is in context of the bilateral investment treaty. And second one is with respect to economy versus military. That economic dominance or military dominance, what is more needed? So we are going to discuss about these two articles. Okay. Now, first of all, the first article is with respect to the reform relations from Indonesia. This is the reform relation from Indonesia. This is the topic which we are going to discuss. Let me give you the context of it. You may have seen this one thing. If we talk about India, you may have seen this one thing that over the last few years, you may have seen that the foreign direct investment, this is something which is declining. The foreign direct investment in India has been declining. Second thing, you will see that the foreign portfolio investor, they are also moving out. They are also moving out of India. Now, if you look at the foreign portfolio investor, why they are moving out? Why they are moving out? Here you will find that this is largely driven by geopolitical factors. This is something which is driven by the geopolitical factors, and at the same time economic stability. That our economic stability has been impacted. Our economic stability has been impacted, and we see that the foreign portfolio investors, they are withdrawing out of India. They are moving out of India. So that is one thing which we see. But when we talk about the foreign direct investment, this is not such a volatile investment. This is something which is more of a permanent in nature. This is something which is like a permanent thing, or a semi-permanent thing, at least you can say. But what we see that the foreign direct investment in India, it has also been declining. In fact, our net FDI, the net FDI is just a few $1 million. It is just a few $1 million. So what we see that our FDI, means the investors from outside, they are not coming in India. The investors from outside are not coming in India. So now the question is, why they are not coming here? Why? Why they are not coming here in case of India? Now here we have got two different stories. One story from that of Indonesia and one story that from India. That both these countries were having similar challenges with respect to investment. Okay. So what we see that when we talk about India and Indonesia, when we talk about India and Indonesia, if we see the last 10 years, okay, Okay, there is one question. I am planning for philosophy optional, but it is too much costly and also not available at KGS platform. Should I change my optional preference? I have done post graduation in philosophy. See, if you have done post graduation in philosophy, Manav, so I think you may already be having the good grasp of philosophy optional. So I will suggest you can look for some crash course type of thing also, which can help you to refresh your concepts, and then you can practice for answer writing part. So this is one thing like what you can suggest you. PSIR is available, but I think it is in bilingual mode perhaps. So PSIR is there, but I guess perhaps it is in bilingual mode. Okay. So let's see this part. India and Indonesia. If we look at these two countries, now see here, there is like 10 years back, they were all having challenges. Both these countries were having challenges with respect to bilateral investment treaties. Okay. Now see this one very interesting part. Okay. See this very interesting part that around 10 years back, both the countries were having this one issue that they were having some bilateral investment treaty. Means what is this bilateral investment treaty? Let me give a little bit explanation for this also, that what is bilateral investment treaty. Suppose that we have a deal with US or we have a deal with European Union, that the companies from European Union will be investing in India in certain sectors. And if there is any dispute, so then that dispute can be solved domestically or internationally. How the dispute resolution will take place, how the taxes will be there. So everything will be discussed in that bilateral investment treaty. So prior to 2015, India was having some bilateral investment treaty with some of the countries in the world. In same manner, Indonesia was also having. And both these countries were having challenges. Both these countries were having some losses due to the bilateral investment treaty. Okay. So what we see that there were challenges like many disputes. There were many disputes. It was something which was becoming like mostly in favor of companies. And what we in fact see that there was loss of taxes. There were loss of taxes. Okay. So both these countries were having this problem. India also, Indonesia also. Now from here onward, the story changed. Now from here onward, what we see that the change in story, the change in approach was there. That both these countries have changed their approach with respect to this one thing. Okay, that both these countries have changed their approach with respect to the bilateral investment treaties. Now, what was the change which was adopted by them? What change they have taken in consideration? Okay, so what they did, when we talk about Indonesia, it developed a new framework for bilateral investment treaty. BIT means bilateral investment treaty. So what we see that Indonesia framed a new law, or you can say that a new policy with respect to the BIT. Okay. What it does, it signed new treaties with many countries, and it provided for international It provided for international arbitration in case of dispute. If they are having any such dispute, they will go for international arbitration. Suppose that they'll say there is a company Google is investing in Indonesia, and if there is a dispute between the Indonesian government and that Google company, then the case will not be going in the court of Indonesia. Rather than that, the case will be going through a international arbitration council, that it will be solved at international level, not within the domestic laws. So that was one thing which was ensured. Okay, it also this is something which ensured a speedy dispute resolution. This is something which attracted foreign investors. And as a result of this, the FDI, it started to grow. In case of Indonesia, what we see that the FDI started to increase. There was an increase in the foreign direct investment in case of Indonesia. Now, on the other hand, what we see that we have also gone for this. Okay, we have also got 2015 model BIT. In case of India also, we have gone for 2015 model bilateral investment treaty. We have also got a new investment treaty in 2015. Okay, now what we see that the investors, what we see here in this case, investors were required to use domestic resolution options. Okay. Here in this case, what we see that the investors were allowed to use the domestic resolution process first. Let's suppose that if Google is investing in India, if they're having a dispute with respect to government on taxes or any other thing, so in that case, they cannot go for the international tribunal. Rather than that, they have to use the judiciary in India first. And for 5 years, they have to look first for the domestic resolution processes. And after 5 years only, they can go for international tribunals. Okay. So there was a time limitation on the use of international tribunals. So what we see that time limitation with respect to use of international tribunal. So this led to the dispute. What we see that the dispute cannot be resolved in a speedy manner. This cannot ensure that the dispute is going to be resolved in a speedy manner. We see that we have got slow judicial processes. We have seen that in India we have got slow judicial processes. It is going on for some years. Okay. There is what we see that in case of India, as a result of this, can you tell me that can it be linked with lower levels of FDI? Now think about this. Suppose that you are having a company. Now you have two countries to invest. One country which allows for a neutral arbitration at international level, and one country which allows for using the domestic arbitration first or using the domestic processes first. Now if you are the owner of a company, can you tell me where you will prefer? If you are having two countries, one which allows more and more investment friendly option and the other one which is like having multiple barriers with respect to dispute resolution, then in that scenario, in that case, which country you are going to prefer? If you are an investor, which country you will prefer? So I think you naturally know this, that wherever we are having lesser dispute, okay, wherever we are having lesser dispute chances, faster speedy resolution, so that country will be the preferred one. उस कंट्री को जाहिर तौर पे ज्यादा प्रेफरेंस मिलेगी. So this is one thing what we see, that in India the FDI thing which has been declining. See, we have got new FDI policy, we have got new BIT policy. Many things have been announced by the government in the last 10 years. From FDI policy to industrial policy to bilateral investment treaties, multiple things have been announced by the government. Despite all these things, what we see that our investment is declining year by year. Investment in India is declining year by year. There was a time when investment in India was breaking all the records. Now it is not even $1 billion annually. The net FDI in India is not even reaching $1 billion annually. So from there you can understand that we are not getting any such foreign investment. We are getting very marginal foreign investment. Okay. So this is one of the cause, this is one of the factor how the things have been declining with respect to investment in India. I hope this one part is clear. तो ये चीज आपको समझ में आई कि what is the issue with respect to investment in India. Yeah. Now coming to the next article. The next article is with respect to economy and military. The next article is with respect to the economy and military part. Okay. Now this is also quite interesting. This is also quite interesting, and there is many examples which have been given here. There is many examples which has been given here. Okay. Now when we talk about the Britain, you all have read modern history. You all have read modern history. So tell me one part. How were the British able to survive in India and take control of India? You all have read modern history. I think you have gone through how the British Empire came in India, how they expanded, how they ruled over India for 200 plus years. So generally people say that it was because of the naval superiority. Okay. It was because of naval superiority. But see this one thing. When the Britishers came to India, they came as merchants. They focused on creating wealth. What we see that most of their policies, it was about accumulating wealth. When they attacked India, or when they were trying to take control over the various states of India, various parts of India, they have not taken money from England. If they have to rule over a certain territory, if they were trying to take a control of Bengal, if they are trying to take control of Awadh or other areas, they were not taking the money from England and then pumping it in India in order to have their war. If they were having any war, okay, what they used to do, okay, they used to generate wealth in India, use that wealth for raising army, then taking control over territories, and after taking control over the territories, after taking the control over the territories, they were not like starting to rule just. What they used to do, after taking the control over the territories, they again used to do the same thing. They used to generate wealth again in India. Okay. So this was the cycle which they were following. This was the cycle which was being followed by the Britishers in case of India. They came as merchants, focused on creating wealth. Most of their policies, whether it is the agriculture related policies or education related policies or any other policy, most of their policies were focused on this one aspect, that they want to generate wealth in India. And with that wealth only, they were able to increase their military might. With the wealth only, they were able to increase their military might. So what we see that by focusing on that, they were able to raise a very powerful military. They were able to raise a very powerful military, and it ruled on for multiple years. It ruled on for more than 200 years. So this is one thing which was the policy adopted by Britain. Now in the present times, you can see later also. Let me give you another example. United States. What we see that in World War I and World War II, what was the role? It was basically supplier of weapons. This was basically focusing on supplier of weapons. Why? To raise wealth. It was raising its wealth. What we see that the US during this entire World War I and World War II, it was supplying the weapons. It was supplying the weapons to both the parties. It was supplying the weapons to both the parties. During the First World War, what was the strategy? What was the strategy by US? US was selling weapons to that UK, France, etc. against Germany. And what they used to do, like when the ship was coming from US towards the European countries, they used to say that the ship was attacked by Germany. They used to say this one simple thing: the ship was attacked by Germany, so all your weapons have gone to the sea. If you read history, you will find this one thing, that during the First World War, US was like sending multiple times weapons to European countries. They were selling the weapons to the European countries, like that of France to Britain and other countries. And they used to tell them that we have sent your weapon, but somehow Germany has attacked and that entire weapon has submerged in the sea. So now it is your loss. It is not my loss. My part is only sending the weapon. Giving security to that weapon, it is your responsibility. So US has earned huge amount of money from European countries during the First World War. And during this time, they have supported, during this entire time, they have supported these countries purchasing more and more weapons and everything. So what they did, they earned huge amount of money. The US economy became one of the most powerful economy in the world. And in Second World War, again, what we see that, in Second World War, again, we see that they were not intervening in the initial period. Only in the last moment they have intervened. So during the Second World War also, they have earned huge amount of money. So their focus was not on the military strength, their focus was basically on earning the wealth, on getting the money. So this was one of the approach adopted by the US also during the World War. Now see, what is China doing? What is the approach of China? If you look at the One Belt, One Road initiative, or if you look at the soft loan policy, if you look at the rare earth elements or critical minerals, if you look at the semiconductor industry, if you look at the semiconductor industry, now in all these segments, you will find this one thing. What is China doing? China is creating wealth. China is creating wealth. See the approach of Russia and see the approach of China. The approach of Russia was just on building their military strength. The approach of Russia was just on building their military strength. Yes, of course, militarily, they are one of the most powerful countries of the world. If we talk from the military view, they are one of the most powerful countries in the world. But look at the geopolitics right now. Which is more dominant? Is China more dominant or is Russia more dominant? Russia has focused just on its military strength. They have got one of the most powerful weapons. But on the other side, China has focused on this one part that they have to build their economic strength. And you can see that in the geopolitics right now, there is a dominance of China rather than US. There is a dominance of China rather than US or Russia. So this is one of the approach which has been done by the China also. Okay. So first we have seen Britain, then we have seen US, then we have seen China. Now look at when we are talking about India, and when we are looking at our international relations, when we are talking about our foreign relations, what is our priority? What is our priority? Look at this very interesting thing. This is a public discourse also, which you have to understand. That when we are talking about, let's say, economic agreements, or when we are talking about an agreement with any country, let us say we are talking about US, Israel, Russia, or any other country. When we talk about relations with any other country, what is the limelight? What is the point which gets most of the attention? Just say, if we talk about India-France relation, when we talk about India-France relation, what comes to our mind? Rafale. When we talk about India-Russia relations, right now oil has become somewhat famous. But if we remove the oil, then what? Then again we talk about the defense system. When we talk about India-Israel also, the one thing which comes to our mind is the defense relation. When we talk about India-US also, when we are talking about India and US also, we ignore most of the thing, but we become very much happy if we are getting some defense equipment from there. Okay. So our priority, it remains focused around defense deal. This is something which is focused around the defense deal. We are just making it a limelight. We are making it the highlight of the deal. When we talk about Russia, when we talk about India-Russia relations, the things which come to our mind, BrahMos. The things which come to our mind is our like S-400 system. We have got Sukhoi, Mirage, and others. When we talk about India-Israel relation, we again think about, okay, Barak missile we have got, we are talking about having that defense mechanism. When we talk about France, we talk about Rafale. So our focus or the entire discourse of our foreign relations somehow remain concerned more with respect to the defense deal and less with respect to the other economic aspects. So what we need to do? We need to shift our priority. What we need to do, if we talk about that, what should be our focus? Okay. What should be our focus? Okay. We need to have focus on faster GDP growth. We need to have focus on industrialization, manufacturing, technology, trade competitiveness. Okay. So our focus cannot be just about the military strength. If we are focusing just on military strength, it is not going to be useful. Now see, if you look at the China's approach towards India, China is keeping India engaged. China is making India engaged, and it is making sure that India is spending more on defense and less on other things. You can see this one thing. When we talk about China's approach, okay, what they do? They support Pakistan. So then what we do? India increase defense preparedness. Then see, occasional conflict around border. We see that there is an occasional conflict around the borders. So India focus on border preparedness. So our focus changes to border preparedness. We started focusing more on that how we can save our borders, how we can safeguard our borders. And then there is, of course, multiple conflicts in part of northeastern states, which are often instigated or triggered by China. So we see that China is keeping India engaged just in this arena, that we are just fighting for survival throughout it. We are not able to focus on all these other aspects. The major discourse come about this, our defense. Okay. So this is one of the approach of China to keep India engaged. There is in fact a principle here. You will find this. Okay. The greatest victory is won without fighting. Okay. The greatest victory is won without fighting. What they do? Modern China, this is applying the economic influence, creating a strategic dependency, shaping geopolitical conditions, avoiding direct military confrontation when possible. Okay. So China is not getting engaged in direct military confrontation from any country. It is trying to have its influence in other manner. See the challenge for US. US is following the same approach which Britain has done in the past when it lost its glory. ब्रिटेन की ग्लोरी क्यों खत्म हुई? After the 1940s, like during the World War, Britain should have realized, during the World War itself, Britain should have realized that it is no longer so much powerful. So it should have focused on its consolidation rather than exerting its power. Now see, US is also doing the same thing. US realizes this part that they are losing their credibility, they are losing their dominance, and then they become desperate. They attack on Iran and other countries. So China is utilizing this opportunity in order to make US weaker. If they are engaging the US in a war, not directly with China, but with Iran or with other countries, they are in fact exhausting the US. US is getting exhausted there. Their entire focus, look at this one thing, in the last 3 months, the entire focus of US administration has remained towards what? It has remained towards the Iran war. In the last 3 months, you can see this one part, that their entire focus has remained towards the Iran war. So they have remained deviated. They have remained deviated. So China is having that much influence that it is deviating US and other countries right now. So what we need to do, that we need to focus on these part. Okay. We need to have integration of our economic policy and security policy. We need to have a strong armed forces, that is correct, but we need to have a strong industrial base also. We need to have the technological capability, we need to have the maritime power. Okay. In fact, you can see this one thing, that one positive step after all which has been taken by government has been the indigenization of the defense industry. When the defense becomes an industry, it is something which is very crucial for the economy. When the defense becomes the industry, it generates income. It will not only make the military powerful, it will make the country economically powerful. So defense industry is something, yes, we need to promote. That we need to make sure that this becomes an industrial thing, not just a supply of our raw material or supply of our armed forces. We need to have this as a proper industry. So I hope this one part is clear. You have to write 2 answers on the basis of it. Sorry, only one question today. Only one question today. In the 21st century, economic power is the foundation of military power. Comment. तो आज बस एक क्वेश्चन है. So I think you can write this answer quite easily. You can give some example. You can give some examples also. You can mention that how the economic power has been shaping the military power throughout it. Okay. So now we are going to discuss that one question. Okay. We have this one question also. The Iran war underscores the need for IMAC, but its success hinges on overcoming West Asia geopolitical challenges. So tell me, how many of you have written this answer? How much time you have taken to write this one? How much time you have taken? One could not write it. Why? Okay, no problem. You can write it today. See, so first of all, we will start with the introduction. And in introduction, we can tell about the IMAC. That what is this IMAC? What is the proposal? What is the plan? We can start with this one. We can start with this one part, that what is the proposal of India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor. Okay. So this is something which we can start our answer with. Second thing, we are going to make a flow chart. The Iran war has underscored the need. So we have to first give a flow chart, that what disruptions have been there due to the Iran war. What disruptions have been there due to Iran war. The third part, the potential of IMAC. It says that there is a need for IMAC. So we have to highlight the potential of IMAC, that how it is going to be beneficial. Then fourth part is, we are going to discuss the challenges for IMAC, the challenges for international maritime economic, India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor. Then you can mention the possible alternatives. You can mention the possible alternatives. Then you can mention the possible alternatives. Okay. And finally, you can write the conclusion. Now, see, we have talked about the potential of this also. We have discussed about the challenges also. We have got the possible alternatives also. तो ये सभी चीजें हम लोगों ने लास्ट क्लास में डिस्कस भी किया था, that what are the possible alternatives for this. Now we have to write the conclusion here. So here it is talking about the India Middle East Europe economic corridor. Now what is the ultimate aim here? See this one thing, you all may have realized by now that India is facing a tough challenge with respect to its export basket. India is facing a tough challenge with respect to its export basket. So here you can highlight this in conclusion, that India must focus on expediting IMAC with like-minded countries to diversify its export destinations. Okay. So what we see that we have to make sure this one part. We have to make sure this one part that IMAC gets finalized, IMAC gets operational. क्यों? हमें यूरोप से कनेक्टिविटी चाहिए ही चाहिए. We have finalized a deal with Europe. But what will be the utility of that deal if we are not able to send our items to export? Sorry, if we are not able to send our items to Europe. If we have got a deal but we are not having the route, how it is going to be beneficial for us? So India Middle East Europe economic corridor is very essential for India because it can help India to diversify its export basket in West Asia, in Africa and in Europe. This is something which can connect us to West Asia also, Africa also, and in fact Europe also. So this is one thing, the special need for India. The special need for India, this is something which you can highlight here in the last conclusion part. Okay. So I hope that part is clear, everyone. Okay. When I had tried to explain anything, I write, let us look at the problem. Generally, yes, you can write it, Madhumita. There is no problem in that. But you will not have that many flexibility of using words. You have to reduce your uses of the word. You have to make sure that you are using lesser number of words. So here we will keep, like suppose we have given one subheading, then we will directly write the points. We will not make any such background. We will not give any such thing. In case of essay, if you are doing that, that's totally fine, absolutely fine. But in case of mains answer, write only those points which are more essential. Okay. So that will be all for today. So we have this one mains test series batch also, which is going to start from 5th of June. So today is 4th of June. From tomorrow it is going to start. It is there in offline also and online mode also, both in Hindi and English. Okay. My conclusion, like India should rethink about its strategy towards the more use of these sensitive choke points and use the alternative like China. Try to mitigate its risk of Strait of Hormuz, Strait of Malacca and CPAC. Okay. Okay, you can write that also. So see, in the case of India Middle East Europe economic corridor, if you look at this answer, we have also given the possible alternative routes. In the last session, we have discussed about this possible alternative route. This is one of the major benefit of reading the editorials. Editorial पढ़ने का यही तो फायदा है. You get some new ideas. That instead of port of Haifa, we can go for Egypt. Instead of going through the Strait of Hormuz, we can go through the Red Sea, or we can connect it near UAE and we can use the rail route from inside. Okay. So this is one such benefit of reading the editorial. You get some new ideas. Yeah. So that will be all for today. Thank you everyone. Take care and all the best. Thank you.